What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Nate Schmidt. Welcome to the Ecom Dispensary Knowledge Drop number 43. I'm here with my partner, the one and only, the Scotty. Scotty, how the heck you doing? Uh-oh.
Doing well, doing well. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Schmidt man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We are recording this on Thanksgiving Day. So it's coming out on Saturday. We're recording it on Thursday. Once again, I apologize if the audio quality on my end is not quite ideal. I'm working with a bit of a subpar setup. I'm down here in Los Cabos, Mexico, and we'll be back to the normal audio quality next week. So I appreciate y'all bearing with us while we're in some weird situations here. But regardless, we got some good episodes for you guys this week. Scotty actually did most of this outline, which is not normally the case. So I'm really excited for the third episode that we're going to be recording this week. It should be number 175. A lot of really, really actionable, specific e-com stuff to, changes to make on your product pages, your website and stuff to increase conversion rate. Before we get to that though, got a little something that I picked up from this book, Psycho-Cybernetics. Going to be talking about whether or not you should partner with someone to build your own business, or if you should say F all that and do it on your own. And then we got that aforementioned episode that I mentioned a second ago. And then the final episode this week is going to be a bit of a Thanksgiving special. So that's what's on the menu this week. Scott, are you feeling good, man? You feeling good? You ready to get into it?
I am feeling fantastic. Got my Coke Zero here, ready to get rolling.
Let's do it. All right. So episode number 173 is where we're starting off this week. Calling this one, try the simple visualization exercise. So it's probably like 2 years ago, I picked up the book Psycho-Cybernetics, which I've heard highly recommended from many, many well-respected people. From what I've heard, it's basically the kind of like de facto self-help, self-development type book. It was written, I believe, in the 1960s originally. It's still in print under, I think it's actually, Scott, I think you know who this is, Matt Fury. I think it's the guy who owns the rights to it now. I started reading it on the plane from Costa Rica to Mexico, and I'm about a third of the way through so far, and I've been really, really impressed. Like, I think it's just been a really, really great read. It's come at a really, really great time for me personally in my life. So first of all, I would say if you haven't picked that book up, I would definitely recommend picking that up. It's like a lot of the stuff that you're going to be reading about or watching or listening to when it comes to kind of mindset stuff and like self-development and all that. I think a lot of it is pretty much based on this book. Like, this is kind of the original self-help book, which, sounds, self-help sounds whatever, but I think it's all, something that we're all kind of interested in doing, is improving ourselves, becoming better versions of who we currently are. And that's kind of exactly what this book does. So there's one specific thing in the book that, like, I guess taking it back a second, the thing that I really like about the book is it's not just a book that you read and then you just kind of like maybe take notes and then you're done with it. At the end of almost every chapter, there are like specific instructions and practices for kind of how to implement what you're learning about in the book. So I've really enjoyed that. And basically in this episode, I want to share with you guys one of the biggest kind of exercises, the practices that I've picked up from this book. And it's honestly, like, the first time I did it, it made me feel like really, really good. Like, not that I wasn't feeling good before, but it made me feel like I was almost like, I swear to God, like I was almost high. Like, I was dead sober, but it felt like I was on drugs.
How would you know how that feels, Smitty?
I might have an experience or two with some drugs, maybe in a past life. But what I'm about to, explain from this book is, it sounds kind of weird and it sounds kind of like woo-woo, kind of voodoo. But like, a huge concept from the book is that you basically have to reserve all judgment and do this practice every day for 30 minutes a day for at least 3 weeks without thinking about, how dumb it is or how stupid it might seem or how pointless it might seem, and just kind of reserving judgment and just doing it for 3 weeks and seeing how it makes you feel. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't, but I don't think there's really any way that it could hurt. And it's definitely already been pretty impactful for me. And I plan on doing it for, for the foreseeable future. So the concept behind this practice is that your brain can't really distinguish between what's real and what's not real. It can only really distinguish between beliefs. And beliefs, whatever your brain consciously believes in, or even unconsciously believes in, the beliefs, regardless of whether or not they're rooted in reality, regardless of where they come from, to you, they're real, because that's just kind of how our brains work. If you believe that the sky is purple, if you genuinely believe the sky is purple, then to you, the sky is purple. So basically what this exercise does is it helps you establish positive beliefs that are rooted in reality, but that are also like rooted in a very positive reality, so that you can become more confident, more secure in yourself. And ultimately the end goal is to achieve, more success. So the practice goes something like this. First step is you want to get to some sort of a quiet place, ideally alone. The first time I did this, I wasn't exactly alone. I was on an airplane. But for all intents and purposes, I was alone, either like sitting down or laying down. I think sitting is probably more ideal, because it's like can make you so relaxed that you might fall asleep. And like if you're laying down, so I think sitting is probably the best way to do this. And basically how it works is, to start off, you spend a few minutes just focusing on your breathing and just kind of like basically getting into a relaxed state. The way that they put it is to focus on your breathing and feel like you're inhaling positive energy and exhaling negative energy. While you're doing that, you just kind of focus on relaxing the tension in various parts of your body. If you feel very, very tense, like for me, I oftentimes feel tense in my shoulders. So I'd kind of focus on, just letting that tension go. And then my whole body, my legs, my arms, my shoulders, my head, my neck, my jaw, even more specifically, just kind of get into like a very relaxed state. Do that for a couple of minutes. And then once you're somewhat relaxed, the next step is to think about a success that you had in the past that made you feel good. And it was pretty funny. The examples that they put in the book were just like super, super small, simple things. Like the first time that you wrote your name successfully in school, or the first time that you successfully tied your shoes. Like, it doesn't matter how small of a success it was. It doesn't matter how long ago it was. It basically just needs to be something that made you feel confident, that made you feel good about yourself, that just gives you, when you think about it, a good feeling within you. Once you kind of have that idea in your head, you want to visualize it in as much detail as possible. Like what was going on around you, where you were at, the sights, the sounds, the textures, the smells, the chair that you were sitting on when this happened, or whatever it may be. Like, get as detailed as you possibly can in imagining the success and how it made you feel. Do that for a little while, kind of get the juices flowing, feeling good. And honestly, just from doing that, you'll honestly start to feel pretty good just by doing that. But then kind of the final step is to, once you've got this idea in your head and then you visualize in very specific detail this success in a previous time in your life and how it made you feel, the next step is to imagine you as your ideal self successfully doing whatever it is that you want to do. This could be anything. This could be something business related. This could be something socially. This could be something, in some sort of sport, athletically, something that you want to achieve, that you're working towards, a goal that you have. You basically imagine you as your ideal self successfully doing whatever it is that you want to do. And similar to the last step, you want to do this with as much detail as possible. You want to get as specific as you possibly can, imagining all the little details of you just pretty much effortlessly doing whatever it is that you want to do, whatever goal it is that you have. So for example, the way that I did this was like going back to the previous step of imagining a previous success. I imagined the first time that I actually realized I was making profit, like actual money with ecom. And I remember it like so vividly. I was sitting in my living room, I was living with a couple of roommates. I was in college. I was sitting in my living room, just laying on the couch, whatever. My roommates were on the other couch and they were sitting there on their laptops doing their homework. And they were just like complaining about it. They're like, this is so stupid. I can't believe we have to do this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'd already dropped out of school at that time and they had no idea. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there on the couch. They're complaining about their schoolwork, and just back to back to back, I got 3 Shopify notifications right in a row. And it was like probably $150 in revenue total. And I realized that in that moment, I just made $50 profit, roughly with the margins and how that works out. while I was sitting on my couch doing literally nothing while my roommates sat there and complained about their homework. And that was a huge revelation for me. And that made me feel, I mean, it was honestly such an incredible feeling. Like that first realization when I was like, wow, like I'm actually making, quote unquote passive income. I'm not actually doing any work right this second, but money is being put into my bank account. So that was like a really big moment for me in my kind of like e-com and business journey. And then the next thing that I did was I imagined something that I'm working on now is working on making another store, another brand successful, starting something new from scratch and, getting something working. So the next thing that I was imagining is just basically that, the next store that I imagined it being successful. I imagined that I was sitting at my desk, looking at the Shopify dashboard, seeing those sales roll in, seeing that number, be in the thousands, looking all nice. And I just really focused on that feeling of like, yes, this is working. That same kind of feeling that I felt when I had my first successful store, and just really trying to like get really deep inwards with that feeling and the satisfaction that, went along with that. And I did that on the plane, and I honestly felt so good. I felt so confident. I felt like the next store that I start is just going to magically work. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work, but that's literally the feeling that I got doing that. And that's basically the concept. I just started doing this. Like, honestly, I've been on vacation and I haven't been doing it every day because I've literally I've been binge drinking every day for the last few days.
That makes you feel good too, though.
Yeah, it makes you feel good in the moment. Not so good the next morning. But I'm headed back this weekend, and once I get back and I'm back in the routine, I'm gonna be doing this every day for the next 3 weeks, reserving all judgment and just kind of seeing how it makes me feel. And I'm planning on doing this not just with business stuff, but also with just general life stuff, with my golf game, socially, just kind of imagining myself as being the best version of myself that I can possibly be, and just kind of feeling that and seeing what that feels like, and just really trying to get as specific and detailed as possible in experiencing, that feeling. And it was weird because like the first time I did this, when I said I was on the plane, and it literally, like afterwards, I felt literally amazing. Like I was just absolutely radiating positive energy. And then immediately after that, it was funny because it just seemed like things seemed to work out for me. Right after that happened, I ended up getting some free drinks from the flight attendant on that flight. And I ended up having a really great conversation with the person I was sitting next to. And it was just like, would that have happened regardless? Like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. But it was just like, it was like kind of an instant thing where I was like, whoa, like maybe I'm putting out some sort of different energy than I was before that's causing, the things that I want in life to come to me a bit more effortlessly. So that's kind of the concept. Scotty, I'm curious what you think about this, because, in previous episodes, I've been talking about some voodoo, some of this kind of woo-woo voodoo stuff, visualization, that kind of thing. And I don't think you're quite as into it as I might be, but I'm curious what you think about this one.
I mean, I think it's undoubtedly true that doing this exercise can make you feel great. And I think it's undoubtedly true that when you feel great, you give off a different vibe and people react to you differently. So, I mean, it's very voodoo, but it's almost like there's just no way this doesn't work. If you actually do this, it's guaranteed to work,
Yeah.
Am I going to do it? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if it's necessarily what I need right now in my life, but it's one of those things that is 100% voodoo, but also like pretty much 100% guaranteed to work. Source, like just life.
I think it's like it's guaranteed to definitely make you feel good, and it's guaranteed to like give you a better attitude and probably just make you happier. However, I don't think it's guaranteed to like you do this for 3 weeks and then immediately you reach whatever goal it is that you want to reach like overnight. Like I don't think that's how this works. But I think that whenever you're working towards a goal, you always want to be in as positive of a mindset as possible. And if you're kind of struggling with that, if you're like doubting yourself, or you're just not feeling super self-confident in whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, especially when it comes to e-com stuff, e-com can be, it can be disheartening when things aren't working for you. When you're testing products, you're testing stores and things aren't working, it can be easy to fall into a kind of negative mindset. And I think that doing this is a way that you can, kind of help pull yourself out of that if that's something that you're experiencing right now.
Yeah. I think especially socially, it's guaranteed to work. Like being in a good frame of mind, in a good mood, have positive energy can help, definitely can help with ecom, but it's not going to be as dramatic as if you go out for dinner with friends, you're going to have a different vibe after doing this. I think that's almost guaranteed to work. Whereas with something like ecom, it's more of a long shot, perhaps, that this is going to make an instant impact. Whereas socially, I think it's almost guaranteed to have an instant impact.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something I was doing too with this as well. Just like the same kind of practice, just imagining myself, in social situations, just being the most confident, magnetic, like charismatic person that I can be. And I think like doing that, especially before you go out, if you're going to be going out, and especially if you're going out, maybe trying to pick up chicks at the bar or something, like just imagining yourself being the best version of you doing that, who just like kind of effortlessly enters into conversation and everyone is just like drawn to whatever you're saying, and just imagining that beforehand, I think can really help you actually do that in real life.
Absolutely. Schmitty, I'm curious, have you finished the book?
I have not. I'm about a third of the way through it. I'm planning on getting through most of it on the flight back tomorrow. Okay. So we shall see.
I've had it recommended a lot, and I was always kind of under the impression that it was a marketing book.
No, it's actually really interesting, dude. It's a book written by a plastic surgeon. It was in the 1960s. It was a plastic surgeon. He's like a doctor. And you wouldn't think that like someone like that would write a book on like self-development, self-help. But what he noticed was, a lot of people came to him because they had some sort of nagging physical issue that they, wanted to fix. Like they had a really big nose, or they had really big ears, or, something like that. And he noticed that for some people, when they got that physical thing fixed, if they got their nose, downsized, or they got their ears fixed, whatever it was, like for some people that would help them, and that would make them feel more confident, and that would kind of fix the kind of like self-image issues that they had. But then he also noticed that for a lot of other people, even once they had the actual physical defect fixed, that it didn't really affect their self-image. They still thought of themselves as that person with the big nose, or with the big ears, or with whatever it was. And so he kind of realized that like it wasn't just about doing the surgery. There was also a large mental aspect to it. And I think he just kind of went really deep down that rabbit hole of trying to help his patients overcome these self-image issues that they had, even after the surgery had fixed whatever it is that they were insecure about in the first place.
Gotcha. That's super interesting. The mind is the human body already is complex. But the mind is just so much more complex. I don't think, it's cool to trust medical science and trust the science or whatever, but I think there's a lot of voodoo that is going to turn out to be true in hundreds of years once science catches up. Ironically.
Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about this book too, is like
complex.
He talks a lot in the book. It's not like just like voodoo stuff. It's not just like, this is what's worked for me and for some other people, like you should try it. It's like, no, this is like, a lot of the stuff in there is like actually backed up by studies, which I think is really interesting, where they're like, no, this is like not just voodoo, there's actual data to back this up. So it's very interesting.
Trust the science, Schmitty. Trust the science.
Trust the science. Trust the science. The theme of 2021 right there. So yeah, that's the gist, guys. If you want, definitely try this exercise out, see how it makes you feel. I would also, if you haven't read it, I'd highly recommend picking up the book Psycho Cybernetics. I forget the author. It's like Maxwell Maltz or something. But if you just look up Psycho Cybernetics, you will definitely be able to find it. Yeah, I'd say definitely pick it up. This whole episode was inspired by that book. So give it a shot, see what it does for you, see how it makes you feel. And ideally do it every day for 30 minutes a day for like 3 weeks. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily 30 minutes. It could be 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Just honestly, the consistency is really, as with everything, that's really what matters with this. So I'm going to be doing it. If anyone else, if you guys want to join me, I'd encourage it. And maybe we can share our findings in the Telegram, see how everyone's doing and feeling and achieving. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds good, Schmitty. Sounds good.
Alrighty, y'all. Well, that'll do it for episode number 173. We'll talk to you guys in episode number, guess what? 174. We'll see you there.